things going on. As your training gets longer, your mileage gets longer, you don't need a bunch of other things to work on. So, I'll introduce myself for a quick sec. I am Chrissy Lombardi. I'm the PT at Elite Performance. For 10 years now. I've been running and racing for probably 12 or 15 years now, and coaching for probably 5 or 6 with Moms in Motion and done. So I'm kind of familiar on all the different fronts of everything from beginning to the more experienced level. And these things that I want to talk to you about today apply to all levels, and there's room to grow, and for all of them, so it should always be great and challenging for you guys. The thing with training is, for those of you that are newer at this, and I'm sure there's a spectrum of you guys, but this is maybe a first training about for you, and then to those of you that have done this before, injuries are going to pop up, and sorenesses, and aches and pains, and when do you listen to it and when do you not? As you find as you go on, things are going to get sore, and that's part of pushing yourself and getting stronger, and most of that stuff should go away. When do you want to listen to it and call somebody and take time off, or when can you run through it, basically? And so things should resolve. Muscle soreness, it peaks a couple of days later, and it goes away. Things that get worse, things that swelling, not a good sign. Things that have sorry, I got turned around. After a run, any types of swelling or pain and things that are getting worse, rest, ice, anti-inflammatories can be your best friend. Nipping things early is the key. Don't try to run through things if they're not responding. Running through things oftentimes aren't going to help. It's when you want to get some other eyes on there, see what's going on. I have the things that I want to talk to you about today are just really easy preventative things for you guys. It's much more fun to come out and see everybody here than in the office. So that's the plan for this. So, avoiding injuries, of course, it comes down to really good warm-up, good shoes, proper fit, things are dialed in for your own bodies. And then the program, the extra program, stretching and strengthening. Keeping you balanced is so key. I find stretching on a daily basis is the most effective way to be cumulatively, generally, more flexible. It's not just about right before or after a run, but every day. Then the strengthening that I want to show you guys is what can be helpful. That's the stuff 3 or 4 days a week, every other day. This doesn't take really long once you kind of get the hang of it. It flows pretty quick, and you can do it in your downtime, watching TV, or when you have a few minutes. It really doesn't take long. So the stretches that I like to do that I find just super helpful, you guys are probably already doing them already. Calves are super important to keep loose, as you know. With running, it's a one-legged sport. The calf never really gets fully extended because your knee stays bent almost the entire cycle. So, with the exception of your heel, your strike. So calf stretching, super easy. Standing gastroc, and of course the soleus. Right, the soleus often gets missed sometimes, and that's a really important one to keep in part of your program, because that's what gets tight in your loading and coming off phase. Hamstrings. You're going to use a lot of hamstring too. So, hamstring pumps are my favorite. Back and forth, up and down. You're getting just a nice dynamic hamstring stretch. At the same time, you've got your foot flexed towards your head. You're going to get the sciatic nerve flossing with it. It's a really nice way to loosen up everything. Oftentimes people feel like their calves and hamstrings stay really tight no matter what they do. Part of the problem is not exactly those muscles, but their nerves are tight. And so your nerves, you can stretch just like a muscle, but you have to address it. And so this is a sort of a flossing to loosen the nerve and the muscles. Hips. How tight do your hips get after a long run? I know mine are part of the bane of my existence. So my external rotators, love this stretch. Just sitting down, ankle over your knee, and feel that back side of your hip just open up. After a good track workout, you all probably should be feeling this one, I would imagine. And holding, this one is a static one. 30 seconds, 20 seconds. Give your muscles time to stretch out and let go. Again, I'm not recreating the wheel. All this is stuff you've probably come across before in your lifetime. The other addition to this one that I actually really like, borrow this towel for a sec. Pigeon, yoga pose. And you can really, it's nice to get a hip flexor stretch on the back leg. And then you get a nice rotation stretch through the front leg. So, hips, and then, of course, in that vein, hip flexors, particularly after hills or track workouts where you're doing speed, hip flexors are getting it really tight, and that can lead to a lot of hip pain. So, you've got the knee down, nice pelvic tilt, and a lean forward. Open up the hips. That's going to be key. A lot of things that I see in the office come from an imbalance of tightness in through the front of the hip and weakness to the back of the hip. So this is huge. This can be really helpful. And then to follow that, quads. This, for some people, you might get a stretch here. A lot of you, if you've been doing a lot of stretching, you'll outgrow this. You won't feel much. Then you can take it forward. Try to keep your hips level and bring that leg back, and you'll get a little bit more stretch out of it. Plus you get a little bounce. But this is a really nice way to split. Again, you're splitting the pelvis, just like in your run stance anyway. So, stretches, again, nothing new. The big part is the strengthening. So that's the second phase that I want to show you guys. So, and these are the things you can do every other day, 3 or 4 days a week. Consistency is key with this stuff. So, the glutes are really important. So that's where this all really focuses. So, chicken wings, the hip external rotators. You might have all seen this. Can I use this?
Yes, that's
okay, thanks.
for you.
So, you're going to lie on your side. Your knees are bent. Feet are in line with your hips, which are in line with your shoulders. So they're basically a straight line back through here. Roll forward through the hip, which is key, and then just lift up. And so you're not rolling back. It's isolated and just a small lift up. You'll feel it through the back of your cheek. The idea with these, it's a high rep, low weight kind of a way to strength train, so it's a set of 50. So it's an endurance thing. So you've got to last the whole 13 miles, the whole 26 miles. You don't want your hips to poop out 3 miles in, because that's when it's going to start leading to knee pain. Promise you. So you really want to have nice, strong glutes. So one set of 50. When that gets easy, get a rubber band or some ankle weights. Put it at the knee and keep going. My goal for people is a set of 50 with 5 pounds at their knee. Again, rubber bands work too. You can just get harder and harder rubber bands. So the second one of that, or the next one, is the side leg raise. So with this one, you're in a straight line. The top leg is back behind the bottom leg. Again, you're rolled forward and you're lifting. It's this lateral stability that's going to come in really importantly, and I'll show you in a little bit where this comes in. Again, it's all focusing on the glute. You've got a nice straight line through the front side and you're focusing the glute. Again, 2 sets of 20. It's a nice way to start if you've never done these before. You can work your way to 50. And then get out the rubber band or the weights at the ankles or at the knee. The weights go at the ankles. And I have this written for you. But a set of 50 with 5 pounds with those as well. Super key. My next favorite, bridge. So, bridge with the leg extension. Still all about the glutes. Still we're working one leg at a time because running is a one-legged sport. So you need each side to work on its own and strongly. So you're on your back, glutes are up, straighten out one leg. Hips are staying level. You don't want to drop with it. You don't want to be a peak or a little valley here. Up tall, hold for it. You want to get up to 10 seconds. Switch, swap it out. So you might in the beginning of those start getting some hamstring cramping. It's just because your hamstrings are working too hard. It's not about the hamstring, the glutes should be doing the work. And that'll shift as you get stronger. Start with a few seconds, hold, and work your way up to 10 seconds. Then you can throw a band around your knees again. Those rubber bands are fantastic. It's at Sports Authority. Any sporting goods store has them. You can throw it around your knees. You get a little extra abduction with it. Planks and side planks. You guys have all been doing many planks. I can't underestimate or overestimate. I can't tell you how foreign planks can be. A strong abdomen is so helpful because as your posture, as you're hitting your late mileage, you don't want your posture to fall. You don't want that to go. You're going to lose your breath. You need to be able to stay upright. So planks, working up your time on the planks, whether your elbows or up on your hands. Butts are, abs are on, butts are down. It's not downward dog. You're here. You're nice and flat. Shoulders are back and down. But I think a minute is a minimum for those, and 3 or 4 of them. Get used to having your abs on. And again, you can start at any point and just work up to it. To go with that, side planks. Again, it's a lot of lateral stability. Running, you need the lateral stability to keep you going forward. So side planks. And again, you're out on your feet, arms over your shoulder, elbows under your shoulder. Too much? Start on your knees. Same for the forward plank. A good place to just start and just fire these muscle patterns. And the last one, that kind of puts everything together. We've worked with the chicken wings, the leg raises, and the bridges particularly. You're working on the lateral stabilizers of the glutes. And what it comes down to is when you're running in your land phase. This is where people get in trouble. It's when you land, it's a one-legged thing, and you collapse. That's where the knee pain comes in, the foot pain, the hip pain, the back pain. Wherever it's going to pop up for you, more than likely, this is when it happens. So what puts it all together is the bullseye. And it's that lateral stability of the hip that's going to keep your femur straight when you land on it.
Everybody up.
So the bullseye is where it all comes together. I like doing this in a mirror so you can see and get that feedback that your hip, your knee, and your foot stay in a straight line. And so as you come down, you do a single leg squat, down, reach out in front, and come back up. Sideways, back, just going around in a clock, and behind. The big thing is all about the quality of it. It doesn't matter how deep you can go if you're collapsing in. It's really about keeping out that whole line straight, up and down. So I like to do 5 or so of those, just in a circle, and work that. Just think about it. It slows you down though, to think about putting those muscles together. And that's going to really come together in that landing phase for when you're running. So the other thing, and I'm sure you have them, foam rollers, runner's best friend. So you can roll out everything. Hamstrings, glutes, quads, calves.
Chins, or not chins, but...
Well affiliated
yeah.
with the foam roller. Yeah. That is a very quick nutshell. But that makes sense, sort of what I go after. And honestly, when I see people in my office, they come in, they're runners, or even if they're not runners, if they've got knee pain, first thing I look at is one, their single squat to see what happens, how much if they're collapsing or if they're maintaining, and then I go right to their hip strength and see what's working and what's not working. Questions? Yes.
I have really tight calves and hamstrings, and my knee is very weak because I had achondroplasia earlier in the year, so I'm trying to get my knee straight back. So kneeling for me is really hard. Like I can't put all my weight on my knee and everything. So I'm just wondering if there's a modification I'm already doing. The planks, the side planks, the chicken wings, the leg raise. I'm already doing all those. So is there anything else that could help with the strengthening of the knee that I can do on my own?
Any other than you said kneeling is what's painful?
Kneeling, or even like putting my weight on it to do that one.
Sure.
You're just showing.
Yeah, I would, for you, I definitely focus on the hip strength first, the open chain step you bring up a really good point. If anything is hurting in the strengthening phase, and granted, if anything's going to bother you, it's probably the bullseye. If things aren't working correctly, and frankly, when you start doing it, if you start like, oh, that doesn't feel very good. First, check your form. Make sure everything's all lined up. I'd much rather have you go 2 inches deep and have you do really well than go all the way down but have you fall apart with the form. But that being said, for you, I would really dial in that other strength because that's what's going to help unload you, unload the joint for when you start doing the bullseye. It's not a problem so much with the quads, but the supporting musculature around it, or the supporting musculature for the legs in the knee. The hip is a huge control point. If this is weak, you get a lot of wobble. And the knee just gets stuck in the crosshairs. Does that help? Mm-hmm.
Sure. You have tight calves, tight hamstrings. Do you go after them in an order? Do you stretch one before the other?
Not particularly. What I would certainly say for you with the quads or with the calves and the hamstrings is make sure with if you do the hamstring pump for the nerve mobility, because the sciatic nerve runs the entire length from your spine down the length of the hamstring and the calf to the foot. So again, when people are like, let's say, oh, I'm really tight through here, a lot of times the muscle length isn't so bad, but that nerve is tight, and that will keep you feeling really tight. So that hamstring pump for you is really helpful, just to keep that, to mobilize that sciatic nerve.
And can you do it flat on your back, or do you have to be raised a little bit?
No, you can do it totally flat out. Okay. Yeah, I can show you later too. Again, yeah. Yes.
What about the upper body, like strengthening the arms and things like that? So I've had cramps in my arms during races too.
You know, I like the planks for the upper body strength, frankly. And just it gives you the good postural. I mean, if you do them correctly, you've got the scapula back and down, and holding that. I find that works really nicely to help keep that stability. But also with the foam roller, keeping your chest open and using it as a nice chest stretch too, so that we don't get stuck up here. Start working hard, start breathing more shallowly. These muscles and everything can get tight and locked out if you lose your arm motion. Get on the roller. Let that all open up and get in so you can get in as much air as possible. You'll be looser here. Your arms will swing more freely. I'm not sure if that's maybe why they're cramping. But as far as strengthening, I think the planks are pretty efficient for that. Bicep curls will make you faster.
Question.
Yes.
Timing. What's the best time to do your strength exercise? Say your running days. Do you do before you run, after you run, night you run?
Good question. I like to do them on your off days. These aren't that aggressive, and they're not loading your joints very much. So you can do them on your on days too. On your run days. But the thing that you don't want to do is be so fatigued when you go into the strengthening that you can't do them effectively. So I like the off days, but you can do them on your on days as well. Stretching every day though. Just increase that general baseline of flexibility for yourselves. And that's nice. I mean, at least the calves. You kidding me? You can do this in the office all day. Just get out of your desk for a little bit.
Do you do some kind of warm-up before the squat? Or do you just, how do you have to be before you do that?
Good question. I like being up and warm. And so not first thing in the morning. Get up, have your blood moving. Get up, if you're at lunch, let's say you're at work, get up, take a little walk. You don't have to go outside and take off, but just get your blood moving again, and then you'll have a better stretch session. And certainly after the runs, for sure. Yeah. I like to I'll work through the muscle groups for the static hold. So it would be both calf ones, the hip, and the quad. For probably a minute each, 30 seconds, 20-30 seconds each side a couple of times. And then the hamstrings, it takes 20 pounds, 30 pounds, it doesn't take very long, so 5 or 6 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't have to take all day at all. You don't have to do it all at once. You can break it up during the day too. Nice hip stretch, even if you're stuck in a meeting and sitting. You can cross it over, and in your chair, stretch out the back of your hip. I like to make things doable. Any other questions? Sweet. I can hang out for a little bit if anyone wants to come up later, but
Fabulous.
that was my spiel.
Thank you.
Tom has my information. If you have questions or anything pops up,
Yep.
you can always email me via Tom, or
Yeah.
Tom can give you my information.
We will-
Happy to answer any questions or.
We'll
whatever.
get printed diagrams of each of these. The video will be up and available for you guys to go back and review. It's amazing. I am so impressed. So thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you.